What is going on, guys? Back to another episode of FLAmerica, episode 10. We're so glad to have you guys here today. Today we'll be covering the last round of the Brasileirao as it comes to a close, how Flamengo ended up doing, how the other teams that got relegated ended up doing, and a couple of exciting topics that will be covered in the coming episodes. How you doing, Leo?
Good morning, Rafa. Hello, everybody. Yes, we've reached the end of the Brazilian League and the end of the season. 2024 is in the books. Now we have a lot to talk about and a lot to look forward to coming up.
A lot for sure. Let's start off with the last game yesterday, Flamengo against Vitoria. This was a farewell party for Gabigol. Vitoria actually ended up playing a lot better than if they would have played that way all season. They maybe could have even made it to the Libertadores, but Flamengo still managed to, get the draw. Gabigol, of course, written in the stars, would end up scoring a goal to seal his days at Flamengo. What did you make of the game?
It was a party atmosphere, Rafa, like you said. Both clubs didn't have much to play for in terms of the final league standings, as we're going to be taking a look at in a bit. Flamengo had already locked third place. We weren't going to finish second. We weren't going to finish fourth. And Vitoria pretty much had their berth in the Copa Sul-Americana, which is the Europa League equivalent, guaranteed. So, both clubs had approached that game in more of a, slow gear, so to speak. But it was an entertaining game. It was a 2-2 final score. Flamengo went down both times during the match and had to fight back to tie it. But it wasn't our best performance, and that is the truth. It felt like a party atmosphere. But long and behold, didn't lose the game. There was a lot of people bidding farewell to one of Flamengo's most iconic players of all time.
Yep. I think it was a successful farewell for him. I wish him best wherever he goes. It's not 100% confirmed yet where he'll end up, likely Cruzeiro, but we'll see. It'll be interesting to see him in a jersey that's not Flamengo jersey. Another player that might be heading out Flamengo's doors as well is Davi Luiz. He's already a bit towards the end of his career, potentially looking to retire or finish his last season or two somewhere else. So he might be another player that's leaving as well. Did you get a chance to see that too?
Yeah, David Luiz, it's still up in the air. He has his contract is expiring at the end of this year, and at this point, it's not certain whether or not he's going to stay in Flamengo, and for that matter, whether he's going to stay as a player. There are a couple of things that work against each other. David Luiz is, of course, very well respected and well liked in the club, not only in the locker room, but in the club at large. He has a very positive influence in younger players. He is this sort of father figure to many of the players that are coming up. And he has a great relationship with Felipe Luis, right? So you have that working in his favor. He was a good blend. He was a good fit for Flamengo, even at the tail end of his career. On the other hand, he commands a very high salary. Arguably, it costs too much for what he can deliver on the pitch.
Mm-hmm.
So it remains to be seen whether or not he's going to stick around one final year. In order to do so, I suspect he's going to have to accept a significant pay cut to stay as a player. Or who knows? Maybe he will
join the coaching staff.
Maybe he'll accept a position in the coaching staff, Rafa. We'll see. That should unfold over the last 2 weeks of the year. But looking forward to see what happens to David Luiz. But he did honor the Flamengo jersey for these years, and as long as it doesn't cost us, 3 fingers to keep him around next year, I'm sure he's very welcome to stay.
Yeah, and it's nice to see that Flamengo is becoming a club where players not only want to be at when they're playing, but want to come back and build after they're retired as well. So it's really good to see that as well. So the season.
Just one thing, Rafa. Just one thing, and we can't forget, right? It would be sweet in its own way if, in any capacity, David Luiz is still around when we match up against Chelsea in the club league.
Yeah, I mean, Felipe Luis played for Chelsea as well. Don't forget
That's
that.
right. He won the
So
Champions League with them.
exactly. So don't forget, having Felipe Luis and David Luiz there when we play Chelsea as well. That's going to be a funny little coming back moment. So the league standings, the final league standings, let's take a look at them real quick, see what teams ended up, squeaking through to the Sudamericana, see what teams got relegated. It was actually pretty epic final day yesterday with a lot of teams playing for their lives. So let me share this real quick so we can take a quick look and dive right into it. Alrighty, here we go. Final standings. Botafogo came in first place, as you guys can see here, sealing a win over São Paulo in their stadium. Palmeiras lost to Fluminense, which actually kept Fluminense in. This is how close it was. Look at this.
Yeah.
Atlético Mineiro was 0-0 up until a little deep into the second half. If they would have conceded one goal, they would have been 17th. Just because they scored one off a missed penalty by Hulk, they actually rebounded it in. Now look, they're 12th and they got into the Sul-Americana. What jumps out at you on this board, Leo?
The obvious thing is that Flamengo should have done better, right? And a lot of that had to do with the way the club started the second round of the Brasileirao. Flamengo did better than expected during the Copa America period, where a lot of our players were playing for their national teams. We did better than expected during that sequence. But when we came back and the second round of the competition started, we really faltered, leading to what was perhaps a teacher's dismissal that happened too late. And if you take a cutoff from when Felipe Luis took over, you would see that Flamengo had one of the best performances amongst those teams. So a little, disappointed to see Flamengo finish third. Kudos to Botafogo, right? They won the Copa Libertadores and they won the Brasileirão the same year. A feat only done by the 2019 Flamengo and Pelé Santos, although there's some controversy there about the Brazilian league. And it was a great season for them. Congratulations to them. They hadn't won a national championship since the year of 95. So they earned this one, which, Rafa, this sets up the Super Copa do Brasil, which is the equivalent of the Community Shield between Flamengo and Botafogo to be played as the first official match of next year in early February. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah. That's going to be awesome.
Other than that, as you said, right, this is how tough the Brazilian league is in many ways. We went into the final round of the competition with 4 clubs fighting against, I guess, the last relegation spot. The bottom 3 clubs were already relegated going into the final matches. And think about this, right? You had Fluminense, Atlético Mineiro, Atlético Paranaense, and Bragantino all fighting for their last relegation spot. Now, see this. Fluminense, last year's Libertadores champion. Atlético Mineiro, this year's Libertadores finalist.
Yep.
Atlético Paranaense, 2022 Libertadores finalist. Against Flamengo. So the three of the last Libertadores finalists were fighting for a possible relegation. That's how tough the Brazilian league is. And then Bragantino, who was the Sul-Americana finalist last year. So it's crazy how close and competitive the Brazilian league is. And, you could be fighting for the top spot and you could be finding yourself buried in the relegation battle.
And it's really interesting to see some smaller teams that managed to make monumental strides and comebacks, right? Cruzeiro having a great, towards the end of their year with some good signings. You see Bahia, Fortaleza among the top teams. It's really good to see this Brazilian league take on a bigger flair that's similar to the Premier League, where you have smaller teams be able to compete with the larger teams as well. So it's really exciting for the future of Brazilian football as well. And it's going to be really exciting. Now, there's one thing that, Flamengo might not be number one in points in the league this year, but what we did knock out of the absolute park in rankings was the fact that, here, let me pull this up for you. I don't know if it's presenting right now. Give me 1 second. Within the actual ranking of public attendance in the Brasileirão, you see that Flamengo smashed it out the park. Flamengo number 1 overall, always almost a total of 1 million people at their games, an average public of 54,000, and pretty far away from second place. How awesome is that, though?
It is great, and this is no news, right? This tends to happen year in and year out. Flamengo is definitely the most supported club in Brazil by far, and very loyal fans. You see Maracanã packed every single game, and as importantly, whenever Flamengo travels, the away fans, the local teams want to see Flamengo, and Flamengo has fans all over Brazil. So the stadiums are always packed, and makes you wonder, right? Once our own stadium is ready, a few years from now, where it's going to have around 78, 79,000 fans capacity, we're just going to push this number higher and higher.
Yeah, it's incredible because, I mean, you see even the ranking of the top 5 most attended games, and 1 or 2 of them are our own games that we're at home, but 1 or 2 of them are also games that other people host Flamengo there. So literally 4 out of the 5 games, the top attended game this year, Flamengo was a part of. So if that doesn't tell you a lot of stuff, I don't know what does. So just to recap, also here, we wanted to ask you guys, please like, share, subscribe. I know we always forget to mention it, but it genuinely goes a long way for us. And we're super excited for the new season. There's going to be amazing new things in our channel, not only podcast forms, but we'll be doing some live vlogs at games and stuff. And it's going to be extremely exciting. And upcoming things. Today is Flamengo's elections. Any news from that end, Leo?
Yeah, so again, we spoke about that on one of the past episodes. Flamengo elects its president every 3 years, and today is election day. A president will be chosen that will lead from Flamengo at least over the next 3 years. This is a critical election, and the three candidates fighting for it are proposing slight different approaches to how the club should be managed. And the news from the front is that things have been going relatively well. It's always a little bit tumultuous when you have an election in Flamengo, but it's ongoing. The polls close at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. local time, 7 p.m. Eastern Coast time, and we should very soon find who's going to lead Flamengo for the critical next 3 years, where there'll be a lot at stake. And we'll be covering this topic in more details once the results are out.
100%. And not only that, I'm just taking a look here. The Flamengo Club World Cup schedule is out officially. We'll cover that coming soon, right? We know we have 2 games in Philadelphia, 1 game in Orlando. We're going to try to make it at those games. It's going to be thrilling, once in a lifetime, especially being Flamengo in America. So, goes pretty well with the channel, to say the least. The new stadium coming up. Gosh, this is a really exciting time to be a Flamengo fan. If you're watching this show and you're an Atlético Paranaense fan, we'll take you with open arms, right? Just the time to be a Flamengo fan is now, or to rekindle your love or keep up with it. It's just extremely exciting for us. We have the preseason coming up in January. They're also going to be Flamengo in America, seeing a little trend here, and transfer window coming too. So it's a really good opportunity for us to be able to share everything with you guys, whether you're living here in America and want to be able to keep up with our beloved club, or like we always say, if you're in Brazil and you want to polish up on English in the best way possible, we're also glad to have you. We'd love for you guys to drop in the comments a couple topics or things maybe you'd like us to include or start doing. And anyways, that is it for this video today. Anything else you wanted to touch on, Leo, before we give everybody goodbye?
Yeah, just a few other topics that we'll be covering soon. We're going to be talking about a full recap of the 2024 season, the ups and downs. And we're going to be talking about the upcoming season, which is going to be fantastic, with the FIFA Club World Cup, Supercopa do Brasil, the Brasileirao, Libertadores, and the State League to begin. And 1.5 months of next year, Flamengo will be here in the U.S. and FLAmerica will be right next to the club, bringing news to everybody that wants to follow us here and learn a little bit more about Flamengo in English.
Awesome. Love you guys. All the best. Like, share, subscribe. God bless, and have a fantastic day.